YouTube, what's up? How's it going? I played 10 new games recently, over 10 different days. This happened in the last 10 days. And I just concluded it, and I would like to talk about the 10 games that I played. These are the games that I picked to subject myself to, or to entertain myself with, over the last 10 days. And I want to give you a little bit of thoughts about what I think about each of these games, whether I enjoyed them, roughly a grade, like a score or so, whether I would like to play them again, and which one was my favorite and my least favorite, and what I've learned about myself on the way as I played these different games. So some of these I picked up in a Steam sale some years ago, others I purchased recently. I decided to play some of them because of recommendations of fans, of viewers. One of them was really popular with my moderator squad, so I wanted to try it out as well. My brother recommended one of them after I gave him a free key on Steam for one of them, and then some I found myself just because they were so highly rated on Steam. I deliberately chose a mixture of different genres so that I could learn a little bit more about myself, my preferences, what's out there, and to check some popular titles. So let's begin. First of all, I played Cryptmaster. Cryptmaster is a narrative game where you play in a first-person perspective, and in order to beat monsters, you need to learn more about the history you've forgotten about yourself. You see, you grow up kind of as you wake up kind of as a corpse in an underground cave or tomb, and you're greeted by a rather sardonic but funny kind of Grim Reaper who brings you back up to speed roughly to what you should be doing, but both he and you have forgotten many things. And you need to find out more about yourself, and you do this by opening treasure chests, solving puzzles, solving riddles, defeating opponents with the power of your keyboard. You see, in this game, they created many different input words. Pretty much almost the entire dictionary is covered and has been fully spoken in by the game devs and their voice actors. You may be fooled to think that there is a generative AI involved in the process, but this is not the case. They thought of many different words you might write down in order to find answers to riddles, and they have voice acting for it. And, well, sometimes it's the right answer and sometimes it's not. It's a pretty cool, basic, nice graphical game where you walk around kind of as a dungeon crawler and you use the power of your wit and words in order to try and advance. I really liked Cryptmaster. Yeah, I think I would give it a grade for my personal enjoyment of about 7.5 out of 10. It's a cool dungeon crawler. It is a puzzle game. I love wordplay. There's a lot of wordplay. There's some word guessing. And in combat, you're to type the words of the attack you want to do, like jab, hit, strike, or zap, instead of actually just clicking a button. So I think it's a cool twist on the genre. I really enjoyed it, and it was my first game that I played in this list. I think it came out last year, and that was, after playing Cryptmaster, that was my favorite so far, because it was the only one I played so far. So I thought, yeah, I'll probably play this again. I really liked it. Then I went over to the following, Empires of the Undergrowth. Empires of the Undergrowth is an RTS game that has something akin to, if you remember, and I might be dating myself a bit here, but if you remember Populous 2, the beginning, anyone from Bullfrog Studios? It's a little bit similar to Dungeon Keeper as well, Dungeon Keeper 1 and 2, in that you have a top-down management system of your RTS controls. You're not directly controlling your creatures, but you're giving them directives. In Dungeon Keeper, you just highlighted area that should be chopped down, where they should tunnel, where your kobolds should tunnel into the your imps actually, where your imps should tunnel into the ground. But in Empires of the Undergrowth, the theme is ants. You see, the developers, which are a small indie dev team, it seems they have a lot of love for biology, so it is all very formic. Everything is about ants and ants as natural predators and everything, and I think that's a super cool direction. While playing it, first of all, I gotta say I'm pretty hypercritical about RTS games. I like a good control scheme, and I've been spoiled with good control schemes like Warcraft 3 and StarCraft 2. You're not looking for a replica or a lookalike of those games here, and I knew that. This is much more of a simulated colony simulating managing experience. Nonetheless, I still found the controls to be prohibitively laborious and circumspect and not really direct and not that comfortable for me to be somewhat frustrated with the controls. And this frustration persisted with me while I was playing the game. And as much as I liked the cute graphics of ants tunneling and bringing eggs back and forth the nest, the initial gameplay loop and experience that I was feeling, I didn't really enjoy it that much. It doesn't help that there wasn't a lot of music to lull me into a kind of, of a good atmosphere and vibe. And the voice acting, it seems they chose deliberately to go with a documentary style voice acting narrative experience, which I get the angle and maybe some people will like it. It wasn't as much for me. So for me, it took me a lot out of the experience of I'm playing a game. Sometimes I felt like the voice acting emotion didn't really fit the moment, such as when my heart, it's not the heart, it's not Dungeon Keeper, such as when my mother queen Ant was being attacked and they said very dispassionately, your queen is in imminent danger. But it was neither imminent because she didn't die quickly, nor did it sound that urgent. And I just couldn't really get into it, and it was probably my least favorite, and I ended up stopping it pretty soon. I'm still happy to try it, but I wasn't a fan, at least not yet. Maybe later things will improve. Then I played a Blast from the Past Lords of Magic Special Edition, which I saw was on Steam. I recognized and remembered that game because I played it way back when. I don't know how many decades ago it came out, but after I just knew I had to try it again. So I played it, and some people had resonance and with that game as well. They remembered playing it, and I remembered it very, very remotely. Some of the voice acting, some of the unit acknowledgements, and I feel like it's very freaking well made, and I could exactly see why I enjoyed it so much way back when. It is kind of a Heroes of Might and Magic 3 style turn-based strategy game where you command some champions that can have regiments of army inside their control, and you move around the map conquering dwellings, freeing units. You end up having a town that you can build up, very alike Heroes of Might and Magic 2, 3, 4, etc. And I feel like the narrative experience, both in the spoken word as well as the written word, was very good. I really enjoyed it. I feel like I could play that game for hundreds and hundreds of hours decades ago. I don't think it doesn't hold up well now. It's just I don't really have the patience to play it anymore. The combat is also an RTS experience, unlike the top-down campaign map, which is a turn-based experience. And again, I feel like the control scheme leaves much to be desired. I could go into detail about many things, but you may not care too much about it. I'll just list you my biggest gripe with it. The fact that controlling a unit, selecting a unit, is with left-click, and moving a unit is with left-click as well, to me is something I'll never love, I don't think. And there's a couple of reasons for it. If I left-click my unit, let's say an Eagle regiment, and I say move here with left-click, okay, that works. But let's say I wanted to move next to my soldier, so I tell the Eagle left-click, and I want to move next to the soldier, left-click. But I misclick on my soldier. What happens? Will he move on top of the soldier as close as possible as he can? No, I'll be selecting my soldier. So now my Eagle isn't moving at all. So I need to make sure I don't misclick, which of course, it's a skill issue partially, but it also comes down to how well is the contouring drawn around the models. Could you ever misclick? Is it clear whether you'll click a unit or not? Because I might want him to move very close to the soldier, the Eagle regiment. And in Warcraft 3 or Starcraft 2, I could right-click on top of my soldier and he'll move as close as possible. I could click on top of him, I could click next to him. And the real problem here is that you've only got two buttons on a mouse that are most commonly used, left and right-click. And many times there's a kind of smart targeting system that tries to understand. It is an interpretive system built under the hood that tries to understand what the user wants. This is why in Warcraft 3, left click is just selecting things and right click is everything else. Move here, attack that, gather this. Everything is right click. So left click is always selecting and right click is always interpreting and engaging with the environment in every way. And I think Command and Conquer had the double left click problem in that I think it was Command and Conquer where left clicking is movement, and it is just an inferior system. And I'm critiquing an older game. Later these things were found out, and now almost every RTS game uses right click for movement and for being a smart command that tries to understand what you want out of it. So I couldn't get past that. For me, that's enough reason to stop playing. But I do think Lords of Magic is very, very fun. And if you like nostalgic games that channel a lot of back when games were really, really good and charming, and it's a nice world, and yeah, I would recommend Lords of Magic. There's lots of different magic types, lots of different races and factions, if you will, that if you enjoy Heroes of Might and Magic at all, big recommendation for Lords of Magic. Then the next game, Prey. I played Prey. It is a FPS game, and I saw there was some horror element as well. Prey from 2017, made by Arcane Studios, seems to be a bit of a cult classic, not as well known to me. I mean, I had never heard of it, but I found it on Steam and I thought that could be cool. I didn't expect to love it as much as I did. Prey was so freaking good. I've never played a game like it. The closest that I came to playing an FPS like it would be Half-Life, but Half-Life is not a horror. Normally I don't play a lot of FPS games, and I think in fact games where you just shoot each other for competitive merit, not usually as big of a fan of those. I played Unreal Tournament back in the days, as well as Quake Arena. I like those games quite a bit. There isn't a lot of story there, I suppose, but usually when it's just a shooting game and I'm playing it, I wonder why. why would I play this? But Prey has an incredibly rich and immediately gripping storytelling. In fact, just talking about it now makes me want to go back and play it. It was such a good story, so good voice acting, such beautiful graphics, immersive gameplay, and a lot of cool twists. And don't get me started about the jump scares. Now, I am not good at FPS games, and I went for one higher difficulty than standard. That may have been a problem, but I haven't lost yet. I haven't got too frustrated with the game yet. So I really enjoy it, and if you haven't played it, do yourself a favor and check it out. It's so freaking good. I would give Empires of the Undergrowth, for me personally, I would give it like a 2 out of 10. I think Prey is a 8.5 out of 10, a 9 out of 10. It's so freaking good. Actually, I don't know what it would take for it to be better. Maybe less scary. It's really scary. But it's such a good game. Really enjoyed it. I finally found out that, well, I shouldn't spoil anything, but yeah, do yourself a favor and play it. It's so good. Return of the Obra Dinn. Return of the Obra Dinn is a narrative experience where it is your job to find out what happened to a boat, a ship. And on that ship were many people. And there's been a murder. And you're to investigate what happened to the ship and the people on board. You'll play detective with limited clues, with an ever unfurling web of mystery. Return of the Obra Dinn is extremely highly rated, and upon playing it, I could see why. For my score for Return of the Obra Dinn, I would split it into 2 categories. How good I think it is, and how much I enjoyed it, given that it is a little outside of my usual genre choice. I think Return of the Obra Dinn, for what it is a 9 out of 10. And I think my enjoyment, 7.5 out of 10. About the same as Cryptmaster. Would play again, really enthralling. Felt like playing more when I put it down. Maybe not my first choice compared to Prey. I'd rather play Prey. Bit more action, bit more immersive, right? I think it's very good. Sometimes I'm just a bit of a Neanderthal with games, and I want like the high fidelity graphics and the pretty pictures, you know. But it's very good. Would play it again, but it's not my favorite compared to Prey. Next, COCOON. COCOON is a very cute puzzle game where you play as a kind of robotic insect, and everything is robotic insects. It's a puzzle game. It's beautiful, simple graphics, with really good art direction. The music is nice. Everything shows itself. There's almost no, how to say it, exposition. There's no explanations. There's no boring tutorials. the beauty of this game is that every puzzle, every riddle is self-explanatory. By just having one button to interact with the environment, you slowly start to understand everything that the developers want to teach you about how to solve puzzles. And so, it's always kind of doable. You never feel stupid, but you feel frustrated a bit when you can't figure something out, and then you'll get it. All you need to do is to just look around yourself, study the terrain, and solve the puzzles. It is a fun, relatively fast-paced game with cool puzzles, and you feel proud when you solve the riddles. I really enjoyed it. I did realize that I do not have huge motivation to stick to puzzle games or mystery games for a very long time. It's just something about me. It doesn't say anything about the game. Therefore, I give it a 7 out of 10 for me. But I think for what it is, I think it's also an 8.5 out of 10. I think COCOON is very, very good. Inside is also a kind of puzzle game, though it is a bit more of a platform scrolling problem-solving game. It's not really a puzzle or a riddle as much, but there are some riddles to be solved. Again, same vibe as with COCOON, though it is a much more dark, sinister atmosphere. There's some death, and there's scary people and there's scary monsters. And the game isn't long. I think you can complete it in about 3 to 4 hours. And I played for about 2, which people said I was about halfway, and I enjoyed myself. But I didn't feel compelled to necessarily finish it. Again, don't be angry, I don't know why I'm defending myself, but some people are like, finish it. I didn't feel like I needed to finish and complete it, but I really enjoyed Inside. I didn't finish Inside, and I probably won't be, but I think it's a well-made game because, again, just like COCOON, it does not try to explain in a very in-your-face kind of way how things work, how the game works. You can figure everything out by yourself. And if you fall once, then you get up again and you try again. And it is so seamless in how he does it. I have a lot of respect for this game as well. Then, my 8th game of the list of 10, Mechabellum. Mechabellum had been a game title I'd been hearing about for quite a lot over the last years. People have been asking if I've heard about it. It is in early access. Supposedly it'll be going out of early access quite soon. And it is kind of it's not an RTS. No, it's not really an RTS. Well, it's like an RTS if you don't do the battles. RTS minus micro. And what do we call that? An auto battler, right? So I've played some other auto battlers, including Teamfight Tactics, Hearthstone Battlegrounds, Clash Royale on phone. I know, but it was pretty good for a while for me. And then Mechabellum. I gotta say, I did not immediately like Mechabellum. For the first 10 or 20 minutes or so, I was being hit a little bit with the learning curve of the game. There were a couple of tutorials, but they were very dry, easy, boring, and monodimensional. I still felt like I needed to do the tutorials because it would be a way to learn, and I wanted to do the right thing and learn it properly instead of jumping in and then having a million questions. But looking back, I feel like I do feel like the tutorials were kind of necessary, but the game really clicked for me when I did my first multiplayer game. After about half an hour of being inside the client of Mechabellum, I did my first multiplayer, and then I suddenly got it. I got why everyone was raving about the game, why everyone is saying that it's so good and so replayable and fun and everything. Okay, we're playing with mechs. I've always liked playing with mechs. My first playing with mech memory is One Must Fall. Do you know One Must Fall? It's this game where you are a fighter pilot and you go inside a bot and you fight the other bots, and then it's like, you win. Ding, ding. You can play the Thorn and you can play the Jaguar. It was so good. One Must Fall 2047, I think it was called. So I've always liked playing with bots, and in Mechabellum you can. It's so good. I played one game and I wanted to play another. So this is a game I couldn't put down. Really enjoyed it. Really recommend it as well. I cannot give you a judgment of, well, if it's like good gameplay experience for its price. I don't remember however many of these cost, because I bought most of them on sale years ago. But I would say it's worth it. You can get a lot of enjoyment out of Mechabellum, so big recommendation as well. Really enjoyed it. 9 out of 10 for me, Mechabellum. Then we have 2 more games. Let's go to number 9, Into the Breach. Into the Breach is a turn-based puzzle game. You're also playing with mechs, but not against other mechs, but against insects. It reminds me a little bit of Jagged Alliance. A little bit, in that you have this map and you have these areas you need to fight for, and then you do a mission, and it's turn-based tactical combat. Jagged Alliance 2. Little bit similar, not really quite 100%, but it was fun. You have different types of bots. It's a bit like chess as well, a little bit like chess, in that you've got several different mech, and those mech can have different types of attack types. Sometimes it's an exploding attack that pushes, other times it's a punch. Some things need line of sight. You're not just killing things, but you're also moving the enemy in order to make them fall into the water, or make sure that they don't attack your buildings. It's actually a little bit akin to Rampage as well. Remember the game Rampage, where you play as the King Kong or Godzilla, and you eat people out of buildings? Do you remember that game? This is very old, but it was fun because the insects are killing people in buildings. Now I have to stop them, so it's like the reverse of Rampage. Yeah, Rampage feels old, man. So Into the Breach, really liked it. I think it was good, but it's not as exciting as Mechabellum. Even though I'm the one controlling the units, and in Mechabellum they're automatically fighting and they're just watching. And I still felt like Mechabellum was more engaging in a way. Maybe it's because it's a little faster paced. You can think for a long time about turns in Into the Breach, and there's nothing wrong with that. I like thinking for a long time in card games as well, which are turn-based. But yeah, actually nothing wrong with the game. I just think Mechabellum was a little better for me, and Into the Breach is also very good. I also love their other game from Into the Breach devs, Faster Than Light. Absolutely banger music as well in the Into the Breach. If anything, I would play a bad game with that kind of good music and still have a good time. That's how audio focused I sometimes am with games. And then the final one, Terraria. 10th game that I played. Terraria has an amazingly overwhelming review experience on Steam. I've heard about this game for a long time from many people, and I've seen it on people's streams. I thought it's definitely going to be a hit for me, but I learned something about myself. Crafting survival games, where you do a lot of gathering, you spend a lot of time gathering. I think the enjoyment that people get out of that is that by putting in time, by investing time to gather things and to get the materials, then it feels satisfying to build things up. And if everything was instant and you would instantly get your resources to build things up, then it wouldn't have the same growth feeling. Except I don't feel like I'm spending my time in a very entertaining way when cutting trees all the time and gathering wood and stone and iron ore. And it didn't help that Terraria didn't give me a lot of time to think or figure things out, because I was being attacked immediately at the start of the game by slimes. Didn't help my chat convince me to play expert, but even on medium, the slimes were constantly bothering me. The game barely told me how to do anything. Of course, there was this guide I could speak with that could tell me how to build a town with a chair and a workbench and a fire, but I could barely talk to him because I was being attacked at the same time while I was talking to him. And then I would die and I would lose my money and that would feel bad. Now, I heard you can eventually fight bosses in Terraria and that it can be really fun and entertaining to build up your city, underground, upper ground. I heard that the game is very requiring of you doing wiki reading and perusing, and I feel like that's a weakness. If a game cannot self-explain itself to you, if it cannot grip you within the first hour of playing, but you're forced to go to outside wikis to even begin to understand it, if it's not immediately fun, if it only gets good after 10 hours, after 100 hours, or after even 4 hours, I think that's a weakness. I think I'm allowed to stop playing when it has that kind of weakness. So I did not enjoy Terraria, personally. But that doesn't mean it's not a good game. I just think the survival, crafting, build your town, decorate your town, get materials, and then craft things, I just think it's not really for me. And that should be okay, right? I'm not saying it's not a good game or that the game is wrong. It's just not that much for me. I'm still willing to try it from time to time because I want to know what people are, what people are playing, what people like. But of course, we're not all going to have the same interests. For some people, the fast-paced, sweaty action of an RTS game in multiplayer may not be for them. And I get that, I respect that. And they may be more into something like Mechabellum, where you don't have to do the micro yourself. And no judgment as well, obviously. It's a good game. I can see Terraria is good, but I didn't personally enjoy it. So, that was my list of 10. Now, let's rank them. For me, the rank 10 out of 10 was Empires of the Undergrowth. In terms of the experience, I would say that Lords of Magic is very good. I would have given it a very high grade back when, but I cannot recommend it for myself, to myself now anymore, so I'm gonna give it a 9. Then, oh, actually that's not true, that's an 8. Terraria is gonna be a 9 of the second least enjoyable in this list for me. Not saying it's the worst game, just for me, right? So Lords of Magic is gonna be the 8. Then for 7, for me that was Inside. The color scheming of full black and white, which Cryptmaster and Return of the Obra Dinn have, is definitely an artistic choice I can respect and appreciate. Personally, I like a bit more color in my games. So for Inside, Return of the Obra Dinn and Cryptmaster, I would say the full black and whiteness was a bit of a loss for me. Then, let's see, what was number 6? I would say probably Return of the Obra Dinn was number 6. COCOON was number 5. Number 4, Cryptmaster. Number 3, Into the Breach. Number 2 was Prey. And number 1 was Mechabellum. It was just such a good fit, such a hit for me. Mechabellum was my favorite. Hope you enjoyed my little breakdown of the experience and the experiments we did over the last 10 days. What was your favorite game? Let me know what you think in the comments and in Twitch chat as well. See ya. Grubby out. Peace.